pirate to sail the Sea of Thieves. The Devil's Shroud, the seemingly impregnable barrier that kept the Sea of Thieves hidden from the outside world. Once inhabited by ancient humans, Ramsey and his crew would be the first to sail through the Shroud and into the Sea of Thieves in a very, very long time. Ramsey, his good friend Mercia, and Shan and Rathbone comprised the crew of Ramsey's ship, the Magpie's Wing, and during their solitary sail of the Sea of Thieves, they amassed a large wealth for themselves. Before long, they would return home with their fortunes and stories, but Ramsey never second-guessed that he would be going back, even if it meant leaving behind his beloved and his children. Ramsey intended to keep the Sea of Thieves a secret, at least for a time long enough as to enjoy its discovery and peace, but Rathbone betrayed Ramsey's trust, and gave a map on how to sail through the Devil's Shroud to another group of pirates, who would in turn copy the map and sell it to many others. So when Ramsey sailed the Magpie's Wing back through the Shroud, he was not alone, and would fight and compete over treasures with other pirates. Others would begin setting up permanent island outposts to place merchant stalls and taverns upon. Ramsey and his crew established their own solitary hideout on an island known as Thieves' Haven. They would continue to sail around the sea and bring back all their treasures to their island hideaway. And as they did this, there are two important things to note. One is that there is a magic about the Sea of Thieves. Things are different here, and this becomes more and more obvious to Ramsey and Mercia. Two, Rathbone was constantly at odds with his captain Ramsey, and would often question his command. One day, as the crew made their way back to Thieves' Haven, they found that their secret hideaway had been discovered and robbed of all their valuables. This sent the crew into a rage, and Ramsey locked himself in his captain's quarters for several days. He would then pull Mercia aside and told her that he didn't simply wish to seek out treasure anymore, but he wanted to learn about the magic of the Sea of Thieves, to which she agreed. So he made a plan to travel from tavern to tavern to inquire about and threaten the people who robbed him to appease his crew, all the while Mercia would secretly search out stories from pirates that would clue them in on where to go to learn more about the sea's magic. And eventually, she did. Mercia's clue would lead them to a small deserted island, and Ramsey wouldn't include Shan or Rathbone in their exploration, which further infuriated Rathbone. Beneath the island was an underground cavern. Ramsey and Mercia found ancient ruins there that were once used to host meetings between the ancient humans and the merfolk. And much to their expectation, the merfolk arrived, thrilled to see humans again, centuries after they went missing. Ramsey then made a deal with them. Apparently, another crew of pirates stumbled across a pair of merfolk and were less interested in what they were and more into what they were worth. So in exchange for finding and releasing the two captive merfolk, Ramsey would then be given something of magical value. Once Ramsey holds up his end of the bargain, the merfolk lead him and his ship up north into the wilds, to an old island encompassed in the gigantic bone remains of the first Kraken, the All-Mother. Still wrapped around her bones were the magically enchanted chains that held her tight. The merfolk undid the giant chains and gave them to Ramsey, per their deal. This in turn peeved off Rathbone even further. He expected nothing less than material wealth as he always had. Upon leaving the wilds, a deep eye of an awakened Kraken would catch their scent and slowly begin to pursue Ramsey. Back at Thieves' Haven, Ramsey secluded himself once again for several more days, this time inside of his workshop, where he spent time tinkering with the magical chains. Ramsey would go on to make an incredibly vast array of magical treasure chests from the metal of the chains. Some chests that would cry water onto the ship, some chests that would make whoever touches it drunk on grog. But the thing all these chests had in common was that none of them could be opened without a very specific set of magical keys, which Ramsey wore around his neck. Ramsey then called a meeting with all of the other pirates and captains within the Sea of Thieves at the Golden Sands outpost. He pitched to them the idea of an alliance, to make pirating about seeking out treasure and magic alike, and not about fighting and robbing from one another. He presented his magical chests and keys to the crowd as a means of how to do so. Some of the pirates were uneasy about forming an alliance, and some outright rejected it, Rathbone included. But before the crowd could deliberate much further, the outpost came under attack by the Kraken that had been hunting Ramsey and his crew. All the pirates rushed to their ship to battle the fearsome beast. Some ships were destroyed and people were thrown from their vessels, and soon all that remained was Ramsey and Rathbone upon the Magpie's Wing. Ramsey landed the final blow upon the Kraken's eye, blinding it. It sent the beast flailing in its underwater retreat, but not before giving the ship a final thrashing. During this, Ramsay was knocked overboard, but before he could fall into the inky water marred by the large flailing tentacles, he was caught by Rathbone, though not in the manner Ramsay expected. Rathbone spat curses at him, telling him how weak he was and how ridiculous his plans had continued to be. Rathbone ripped the magical keys from around Ramsay's neck and let go of his grasp, sending Ramsay into the blackened waters. Rathbone would go on one day to form the Gold Hoarders, as he and his company were the only ones that could open the treasure-filled chests with their magical keys. But that is a story for another time. The inky waters wouldn't be the end of Ramsay. He would reappear and go on to form his dream of a grand pirate alliance. He was then given the moniker the Pirate Lord. He would spend the rest of his life sailing the Sea of Thieves, amassing riches with his alliance and good friend Mercia. Though, as time went on, she'd spend less time at sea and more on land, fiddling with the various magical relics they'd come across. Until one day, old and gray, Ramsay found her slumped over dead at her desk, having finished her final relic. A skull necklace that bore the Reaper's mark, and a note for Ramsay which simply said, "This will suit you," and he's worn it ever since. In the last days of his life, Ramsay sailed his ship into an alcove of an island, wrecking it upon the rocks. His ship would remain magically hidden there, as both his home and a tavern where pirate legends from all days and ages could come in harmony and share their tales, even after death. Where the spectral ghost of Ramsay still resided as Pirate Lord to share his legend, as well as send pirates out to rediscover chests from his collected wealth, all from the ship that would be his and others' home after death, named after the beloved he'd left behind, Athena's Fortune.
Cloaked in folds of midnight water, side by side, we sons and daughters, we set forth with no king's orders, but we'll sail together. Hold fast, tides are turning, flames roar, fires are burning, we'll all be returning if we sail together. All on the waves shall know our story, sing of battles fought ashore. We all shall thrive on fame and glory when we sail together. Words of warning have been spoken, ancient creatures have awoken, ill until our bond is broken, we shall sail together.